Hey everyone, welcome to Small Talk Sundays, where I just do some small talk on Sundays and then upload the video at a very inopportune time on Monday. Gosh, the amount of times I screw that up. Anyways, how y'all doing? Hope y'all doing great, doing fantastic, awesome. I am doing normal. Normal as per usual. But yeah, the last video kind of came out a weird time. Remember how the last time I said that I had a bad tendency of procrastination? Yeah, this happened again. Even though I said I really hoped it didn't happen this time again, it happened again because I was doing a lot of rival wings, and I got a bit distracted by that. And then Thursday rolled around, and I was like, "Oh crap! I probably should stop putting this off so much." So yeah, I pretty much rushed it. That does kind of like show me that I am capable of editing a video in a rather short amount of time if I commit to it. But that was also a rushed product, and I didn't quite know how I felt about it at the end. Like, it felt like I was releasing it incomplete when I threw it out, because I only fit 2 skits in for the introduction as opposed to my normal 3+ skits I tend to do. But I think it came out alright considering how people were talking about it and how supportive everyone was, which thank you, by the way, very much. And thank you to everyone who's I just want to mention, I really appreciate it with people informing me about how trusts work and like how having certain members in there make them work differently. I appreciate it. I appreciate you informing me. I understand you don't need to repeat any of the details, because I think everyone's just about covered them all in the comments. Because I keep getting people telling me about the whole trust system and all the mechanics as to how like some characters work better with others and what happens if you don't do it with others and whatnot. I get it. Thank you. Thank you. I got the point. As for the intro, I was actually kind of really discontent with the intro I did, but it seems people were kind of alright with it, because it was only like I said, only 2 skits, but I'm glad it kind of came out. And I guess that's also a message to me to basically say just stop freaking out about things so much, because I was kind of freaking out about that. And Friday was literally me just like fussing over just the outro and intro, because that's the last part of my process now. And I was running into a big creative block all of Friday. Like, I couldn't come up with anything like at all for the outro and intro. Even the outro I felt like was like really lazily done. It doesn't lead to anything, and I'm probably not even gonna get to that in the next video, because there's a lot of stuff in between the duty and the next duty. So there might be one video before we get to that part. I'm pretty sure people are just kind of waiting for me to get to. But yeah, that's enough about that. So I had a couple points I wanted to mention for Small Talk Sunday, but I'm a little bit hazy on it, because again, I forgot to write it down, but I did manage to remember at least a decent chunk of one of them. And that's the idea of the meta talk. And I mentioned this not because I've been affected by it, but because I thought about it for a while. The idea of the meta, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it does kind of push people to be able to like perform better and play better. And that's great and all. That's great and all for like improvement and actually like getting good at stuff. But at the same time, like in something like a video game, I don't know if it's entirely necessary, because all you're doing is making the experience a lot easier. Because when you do meta stuff, you go the easy route essentially, and the easy route usually is the most effective route. And I can see that for like really top tier end game pushing, but I don't know. It's kind of a double-edged sword, because also, it's a video game, man. Like, we're trying to have fun. We're not trying to like please the corporate overlords with this. Like, I guess if you're like pushing super hardcore end game content, I guess, but I suppose that's a niche in and of itself. Like, if that's the type of route they want to go for, then it's no room for me to judge. But like me coming from WoW, it's literally the norm, where everyone is requiring you to have at least down like the heroic version of a boss once. Before inviting you to like a normal version of a raid boss. Like your requirements are literally to have like ahead of the curve, which is like beat the boss before it gets nerfed, because I think the end game boss eventually like get nerfed and added to looking for a group. For a while I was seeing people, you have to have ahead of the curve before being invited to this normal raid group. Not even heroic, not even mythic, just normal. And to anyone who's not familiar with World of Warcraft tiers, it's like mythic is the top tier difficulty, heroic is just like a step below that, and it's considered to be like normal for in-game raiders, and normal is considered kind of like almost like it's meh. difficulty. And then you have LFR, which is looking for a raid, which is literally just everyone's just doing their own thing. Like, no one cares. Like, there's zero credence to winning an LFR raid at all. And normal is considered like, okay, you went through like the kiddie pool version. And then heroic is like, okay, you beat heroic. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You did a good job. And then mythic is like, you're like, that's the top tier. Like, you beat mythic, you basically beat the game. In the PvE players' eyes. And the reason I was mentioning this is because, yeah, like, the meta, like, completely ruins the community feel of the game. And I'm just, like, sitting here, like, I'm comparing the two games, and I can see that Square Enix is taking a rather solid stance into preventing this really, like, corporatized atmosphere and, like, gatekeeping situation. Which is really interesting because there are people who, like, specifically like some PvP crowd people I'm aware of who hate the idea of any type of extra interference and just want to, like, dominate people and basically just get good scrub and stop crying, stop complaining. If you want to stop losing, play a better class or something like that. But I did some thinking and I was comparing the most toxic form of stuff I've seen in this game compared to other games, because to my knowledge, a decent chunk of the top PvP players in this game came from other, like, way more hardcore PvP games. So they have a lot more, like, competitive blood in them. And I don't know, it's kind of weird to think about because the people who naturally just normally play this game the longest tend to be the nicest and tend to be the most well-behaved. From my personal experience, I know there's always exceptions and bad apples and whatnot, but from my personal experience, like, people who've been specifically just playing Final Fantasy games are generally more well-behaved. Because, yeah, like, it's like night and day going from WoW to Final Fantasy XIV. And I was kind of thinking as to why there's such a huge difference. Like, World of Warcraft, I don't know. The overall mentality is way more hostile over there compared to here. Probably has something to do with World PvP being a thing, or just the PvP scene in general. But maybe it's also the way Blizzard handles it, because there's a big disparity between the community and the company, to the point where, like, people just don't have any faith in Blizzard at all to create a viable product, and apparently people are still subscribed to it despite the fact that they're complaining about it all the time. And literally just quitting WoW and just playing Final Fantasy XIV, I was like, wow, games can be fun? I can actually, like, sit down and play a game with a smile? What is this? I'm not used to this. I played WoW for 15 years. That might be the most depressing thing, like, to ever come out of my mouth. I have played WoW for 15 years. Like, my lord, that's some existential stuff right there. And I missed out on a lot of stuff. And one of the first games I did after quitting WoW was no, it wasn't. I was going to say Nier Automata. I actually played that a little bit later, if I remember right. No, I played that while I was playing WoW. And that I think that was the first taste. That was the first taste. I was like, wow. Video games can be good. And I've really had to, like, say that and repeat that a little bit and just had to, like, process that mentally. I was like, video games can be good. Video games can be good. And it was, like, such a foreign concept to me at the time. Like, I'm sure you can tell at this point that I probably have a little bit of a bias against World of Warcraft because I played a really non-meta spec. So I wasn't invited to anything. And when I finally got around to being able to do arenas, because I finally found some friends who would do it with me, because I wasn't getting any strangers to do any arenas with me because I wasn't playing freaking Destruction Reflection. I was playing Demonology. And I know I'm talking WoW lingo, but essentially I was playing, like, the worst spec to play. And the reason I played it wasn't because it was the worst, it's because I liked it. I liked the way it felt, the way it's designed. I like the theme of it. Demonology War, you're summoning things. I like the idea of that. And it just constantly hampered, not just by the fact that it's, like, just in general just not fit very well in the whole theme of how the action is, but also the mechanics of the class itself are really clunky to where it's fighting against you all the time. So whenever I would finally do arenas, whenever we'd lose to the enemy team, the entire enemy team would whisper me afterwards and tell me to go to one of the other specs, and thinking that I just don't know any better and I'm new to the game and I don't know what I'm doing. So they're props to them for being nice about it most of the time. But yeah, it was just like every other arena match. They just kept telling me to go to the other specs. I was like, what the I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this. It's like I was punished for playing the game how I wanted to play it. And that's something I'd noticed differently here, is it doesn't feel like I'm punished for playing whatever I want to play, except Red Mage and PvP, because Red Mage apparently doesn't really fit anywhere. It's too strong in duels to be respectable as a winner, and it's too weak in any of the other fields to be able to yield strong results in. That's kind of a weird oddball. But Machinist is may also fall into that category. But yeah, I don't really strongly feel punished in playing any job in Final Fantasy 14. And there's another thing. All of these extra activities and extra things in this game don't feel like a forced chore I have to go through. But then again, I haven't reached the maximum, like I haven't reached the end of the MSQ, so I don't know how much of this stuff ends up turning into chores or not. But the fact that I've been playing this game for pretty much a year at this point, actually, yeah, it's getting close to me playing this for a year. Just give it like 2 months or something, and the fact that I haven't reached endgame, I'm still really satisfied with the experience. That speaks volumes. Like, wow. It was great. But anyways, back to the point that I strayed really far away from, the meta idea. I respect Yoshi P and the Square Enix team on their stance on, like, basically telling people not to push these whole DPS meters. And I also respect that they also saw that there is value to having these meters on there, because it's hard to tell how you're maximizing your damage without some assistance. I appreciate that they're taking at least a lenient stance on it, as long as you don't gatekeep things. And I appreciate what they're doing there, because I think they also they do understand the problems that the meta mentality causes, because it's just like, it fits in a corporate sense, I suppose, because that seems to be like the sole like attitude and personality of a corporation, where you just want to be the best, optimal, everything, just cold logic, everything, and it does seem to yield results. Otherwise, that wouldn't be the established, like, quote-unquote meta of reality. But it's kind of a weird, just double-edged sword with all these things. But it's also a video game. I'm a weird case in that I can, like, keep bashing my head on, like, difficult content for, like, hours and hours and not be upset. But if I'm in groups with people who get extraordinarily upset and start yelling around, then it becomes really unfun very quick for me. It's kind of weird. Like, we could literally be in the same group, same problem, but if someone else is like freaking out and just being really angry and just start thrashing around, having a huge fit, then it starts becoming very unfun for me real quick. Like, it's weird. It's weird. I can keep losing as much as I want, as other people, but as soon as other people start freaking out, I don't know. That's a weird tangent, but yeah, it's kind of a weird thing for me to think about, just the whole meta and the whole dilemma behind it. Like, 'cause I get it. You're not gonna really beat, like, what's the end game difficulty? Ultimates? Savage? Whichever the high-end difficulty is. I know you're not gonna be able to get through beating those unless you go through that cold, hard logic approach. It's just, I don't know, maybe I'm just not that type of player who wants to go that whole, like, raw data approach. Like, I do that in my free time to min-max my own personal gameplay, but I'm not gonna freak out about it if I do it perfectly or not. I don't know. I just don't like seeing other people bringing other people down for just trying to participate, and things just aren't going too hot. Yeah, I don't know what else I wanted to say on that. It's just, meta is something I've been constantly fighting against for such a long time at this point. Anyways, I'm just rambling and going in circles on the same point. So I'm just gonna go ahead and end this video here. That's just something I wanted to talk about, just real quick. It's kind of weird. It just kind of popped up. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. Thank you all very much for watching and or listening, and I hope you all have a wonderful life. And don't click links. Alright. Take care, folks.